Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Avid Shows 3D. I'm your host Fergie, and we're taking a look at a spool holder. So this is a spool holder for all of the samples I get in the maker box, like this. I had one before, didn't like it, looking for something new. This seemed pretty unique, just the layout, because these connect here like this. And so the three go together, like this. You put the spool on these first, then you put it in place, and that looks pretty cool. I like it a lot. So I'm going to try this out. But I ran into a problem. When I was making it, I looked at it and I thought, you know, I really don't need supports with this. I can just go ahead and print this off without worrying about supports. So I printed pretty much like this on a CR10, and then just as it was halfway through into a 6-hour print, I realized my mistake. You can see it already. These are going to require support. There's no doubt about it. This is going to require support. It was too late. It was already started. I was like halfway through, so there was no way that I was going to stop and redo it. So I watched it. Now I watched it go around and around and around, and it started filling it in all by itself. Sometimes you get really lucky and it will fill in all by itself. But look at it. I mean, yeah, it's filled in, but it is a mess. That looks horrible. So today, using a soldering iron and one of the tools that comes with your printer, we're going to try to fix that. So it's not going to be perfect. It's not going to be like there were supports before, but it will look more like this than like this. Okay, so let's flip it over. So I've already fixed these. As you can see, I fixed this one and this one already. It's still not as thick here, but it does clean it up quite a bit. I don't have strands out there. If this had to go onto here like this, it would definitely still fit. So I have no problems with doing this, but that has to go. Now there's a couple different options. You can take one of these, and let me get the other one here, and you can nip it. See all this extra stuff? You can definitely go through and nip it down like you're pruning some hedges or something and make it look a lot better. But you don't have to. I don't have to use this at all. Get rid of that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take a soldering iron and I'm going to flatten it out. Now this is already preheated. Yep, plenty hot. And what we're going to do, because the gap is big enough to fit this tool, I'm just going to go through the narrow part and barely cover the top. I want to make sure you can see this here. Let's move this out of the way. So what I'm going to do is, let's see how I can do this without my hand getting in the way. Just go right along the top. So I'm just lightly pressing down, but I'm not actually pressing down hard enough to like smush it down. I'm not trying to do that at all. I'm just trying to get the threads to start to lay down on their own, like this. Now, the reason we have this is you can take this as it's still a little soft, and you can press down, and that will help flatten it and get rid of some of the texture. So you can see, just making a couple passes, get that out of the way, it's already flattened down quite a bit, almost all the way, in just a couple minutes. So let's smush it down again. There we go. So now you can see the difference between the two sides there. One is nice and flat, the other one is all over the place. Now you don't have to do this just on the inside of something, you could do it on the outside as well. If this had a lot of strands on it, I could go through and smooth it off by just barely going over the top. It doesn't take much because this is really hot. Another example is, there you go. If you have something like this mask, let me zoom in a little bit. You see all this rough spot right here? It's going to take forever to sand it. You can take this and lightly go over the top, slowly but surely, and get rid of most of the big pieces, than having them fall off or melt back into place. Now I'm not pressing down like this because that will go right through, and that would be a bad thing. I'm just trying to go over the top very lightly. You can also use this to weld pieces together. What have we got here? Here we go. So if I wanted to weld this to this, all I gotta do is, here we go, run this along the side here, putting pressure on it as I go, and here we go. Once that cools a little bit, it is part of that now. So you can do welding, you can do smoothing, you can do sculpting here, like this, knock that down a little bit, or, like we did a minute ago, you can take this and just run this through here like this, very easily. There we go. And within seconds, everything semi-melts. You don't want to melt it a lot. You don't want to deform it. You just want to melt it some, and then finish it off with that. This tool is amazing, by the way. This tool can be used. This tool can be used for so much: smoothing, melting, chipping, cracking. This is an amazing tool. I love this thing. But let's go ahead and take a look at our piece. All right, let's get rid of this. Here we go. Get that away. So, let me zoom in. These compared to these, which I did earlier, very compatible, very nice, very smooth. Let's go ahead and take a look at how we put this together. All right. So you take your spool, which is here. You feed these in like this. All right, and this is before you take it off. And you press one in. You take the other one, put it sideways, and then straighten it out like this. And then you put this one sideways and straighten this out like this. And now, there we go. I have something that can go in a spool holder. So let's take a look here. If I take this, which is one of my spare spool holders, I can stick it on here like this, and put this like this. And this is how it would go. And it's easy to change from spool to spool and keep it in place. Now before, I had used something else. I had used one of these. So if you take a look at this, this is just a small spool holder that has a middle that screws together like this. See, it screws like this. There we go. Pretty cool. Now the problem I had was this is not nearly big enough for the spool. I downloaded this from Thingiverse, and if you take a look, this spool is not is higher than the sides here. While being a maker, I didn't want to have to reprint this because it was like 7 hours to print this. So what I did was I took some cardboard, I cut it out in a circle by using a regular spool to trace on the cardboard, cut it out, cut the middle hole, and then just use a hot glue gun to stick it on. And so now, instead of having this tiny red spot, I have a really great full-size spool that I can use. And you know, I got this concept because I've seen other filament manufacturers giving cardboard spools. So now I have this, which would go amazingly with the spool holder. See, that's just going to fit right on like this. Oops, unless I drop it. Alright, come on. Here we go. Yeah, so the cardboard's going to fit right like this, and it should feed really well. So that's a couple different options. If for some reason you print out a spool holder that's not going to fit your needs, even if I just printed out this, right, and the rest didn't work, I could work something in cardboard with this pretty easily. So that's what I did for my makers, and also that's how we can repair something that we didn't hit the supports right, or it was too rough when it came out because of the supports, because that's what this is, of course. This is where all the supports were, and it came out really bad, and just hitting it with the soldering iron worked wonders with it. And also how you can put plastic to plastic, because you can see that was part of it before. Just ripped it off with my strength. Okay. Well, that's going to do it for this episode of Average Shows 3D. As always, subscribe below. If you have any questions, just go ahead and give us a question or comment. If you have a better way of taking these spools and samples that you get, because I have a ton of samples. If you have a better way of setting a sample up on a 3D printer, let me know. I'd love to try it out. Something that actually works well. As always, you guys have a great day.